So Carrie, why are we waiting? We can still hear you. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of being thorough with your genealogy?
Oh my God. Well, just the case about what's going on in California alone, they're now trying to say that in order for Black people to get reparations, you can't just Black to get reparations. They want you to prove that you were a descendant of an enslaved person. Which how did any of us get here aside from us purebred 100% Indians if we weren't born here from Africa?
Well, you know, a lot of people are running around here saying that they 100% pure blood Indians ain't got no African in them, cuz.
Well, I can say this. I won't claim that I'm Nigerian like most Black people do, but I will say that our African history goes back to 14 different regions of Africa, which mostly are along the Ivory Coast, Senegal, and which most people don't think is Africa, Southeast Asia. I don't know how you find this mean. Okay. So that's the importance of really knowing where you come from. And then you also have to know that most of us that are here who have history of families that have been here for generations, we are mostly somehow incorporated with Caucasians. My daughter that's standing right here with me, her great-grandfather, her grandmother's father, and her grandmother was born in Greensville, North Carolina, and her father is from Liverpool, England.
Wow.
And she was born in 1941. So if you mix my 27% of Caucasian heritage, and then with her heritage being so close to her, being her great-grandfather, where I can only trace mine back to maybe my 5th great-grandfather on one side, a 4th great-grandfather on another side, an 8th great-grandfather on another side, hers is much closer. So if I'm 27% Caucasian, I can only imagine what hers is. And then the sad thing is, with me and my 6 daughters, we are a rainbow of mahogany, and this young lady is of a very, very, very pale skin. And when she was little, she thought that she was white and couldn't understand why her mother was this color and she was the color she was. And she's 38, about to be 39 years old. So I have always had to deal with explaining to my daughters why they look the way they do, and then being able to have them accept why they look the way they do. Now, me finding out what my true heritage is, it really makes me understand why I am creative, why I am proud, why I am strong, why we lose some of the women in our family young, why some of the suffering women in our family live to be old. And they all have some things in their life that will be sustained forever. The story just hasn't been told. So for me, what I truly want, with all that I'm going through right now with my family, is just for the story of John H. Rock and how he acquired all of this property, which will then go back to his grandfather, Peter Rock, who acquired the property. But then how he left it all to his in 1929, and it was stolen from her by people that came over to Ellis Island in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. When you learn the whole history of how this one town was developed, Chittenden Falls, and then you have Shrewsbury, and you have Eatontown, you will then see how they then wiped out the entire town of Pine Brook, which our family owned. And they did it through zoning, they did it through pushing papers, and they did it through having not one Black, one Native American on the board of the city council, fighting for the families or their descended family or their extended families and their rights. And this is exactly how they did it. And what I would say is they took off the hoods, they stopped riding the horses, and they sat down and started pushing pennants. It's just that simple. So I'm here to tell you that any Black person that has a family and it says that your descendant is buried in your family name cemetery, that cemetery was owned by somebody in your family at one point in time. And a cemetery can never be sold without the heirs or the owner's permission. So all of this taking over and just, removing tombstones, and you can look up every Macedonia cemetery in the United States, and they are all some old Indian burial grounds, and they all have been put into parking lots, shopping malls, and like you can even go to churches in Chicago, and right next to them there are Macedonia cemeteries, and they have the whole downtown built around this old Native American country, and there are even graves under these sidewalks.
Absolutely. So, what is the significance of the term Macedonia?
Macedonia is old. What it is there are villages where Indians lived, and in our village it was Swaffham Village in Pine Brook, New Jersey. And that's where most of the Indians were, the Reeves and the Richardsons, before. Some of them went off to Brethren. Some of them that stayed even developed their own town, which was Reeves Town in Monmouth County. But the Macedonia was where they would come to bury, where they would come and do their ritual, where they would come and serve their 12 gods. And even when they buried, they had circles of 6 rings to mark the areas of which they did. And these people, when they came and they started coming to America in the 1940s and 50s, they really, not the Dutch, but the European settlers, they had no respect for the Indians. They felt like they were ignorant. And if any Indian chose to fight with them, they were considered not to be humble. They were considered to be wild. And therefore, what they learned was they give the Indians alcohol, which the Indians call
firewater. Oh, cuz just dropped off. Hold up. We got to get it back. What the hell happened, cuz? What's going on? You can't do that to us. See if we can get it back.
650.
Hopefully she'll call right back. Yeah. So what you think, Colin? Nothing new, right? Bet you her phone went dead.
3650752 is not.
Yeah, it sounds like the phone went dead. Give her a few minutes, see if she can tap back in. But this was a bonus. We wasn't expecting to have cousin Carrie sharing with us, but yesterday or earlier, I was asked, why are we not fighting? Why are we not doing this? And talking about the land. And this is the cousin who's actually out there going toe to toe with these corporations. You know what I mean? Like, this is somebody that can share a lot of information in terms of what to look for. In terms of what happened to our land. Here she's saying these are the people who came over on Ellis Island are the ones, right? This is all post-revolution. This is people who started coming over here in the 1871, dealing with the Naturalization Act. And these are the Europeans that came in and started to cause a lot of problem for many of the indigenous and African communities. And so our story of Pine Brook and Reevytown is one of those stories. And cousin Carrie is on top of everything in terms of the history, the connections. You know, she's got much of the, if not all, the paperwork. So she's a jewel for us. As I stated, her phone probably went dead. I'm gonna give her another. Okay, here she go. Boom. Hey, cousin.
I'm sorry. It's long too long. But if you're still there,
yeah,
especially when it comes to the history of Macedonia and names that we know are related to our Native American history, it's best for us, if we don't know, to definitely go back and research and find out exactly what the meaning is. Because what I found in my research is that they tend to use words that they think we don't know, and they display them in front of us. And it's basically saying, we're right here. We know this was Indian territory. Or like when I go to Florida and I'm in Tallahassee with my daughter, and the hair on my neck and my arms stand up because I'm at Florida State University watching that little boy ride through that stadium on that horse, and they calling themselves Seminoles. When you ride right out of Florida State University, you go straight down Appalachian Parkway. It gives me chills because they know what they've done, but not enough of us stand up and say, hold on, what's going on here? When it comes to Monmouth County, New Jersey, and our Indian ancestors, right here in Ocean Grove, there is a Catholic church where our ancestors took the cross and they found out black church in England and brought it across the water. We donated the stained glass windows. One of our Richardson ancestors played the organ in his church, Catholic church, for 37 years. In the 1800s, 1862. And when they had children, they built each child a 10-story house, which is in Ocean Grove, New Jersey right now, where Friday night, it is blocked off as soon as sun go down. And if you're not a resident up there and they're all white, you're not even allowed to go in that town. The Grand Hotel in Asbury Park, New Jersey, was built in 1875 by the same exact men. And not one black person has ever been. And I mean, I used to go by the Grand Hotel to Steinbeck's with my grandmother on Grand Avenue and never knew that my ancestors had any part in building this building. And when they did, when the 1940s and 50s and stuff came about, they weren't even allowed to walk in the front door of buildings they built because men had came down from New York and started incorporating towns and cities, and they took over. So when you find out who you are and where you come from, and you know the history of the people that came before you. My brother went to Princeton University with 13 scholarships. My sister went to Monmouth University, and she couldn't make it one semester in 1984 because they were racist. And we gave a party trying to raise money for the nurses and the Nurses Association at Monmouth University. And the next day she went back and they had the word nigger, 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 nigger written all over her locker. And she dropped out the next day. And I'm here to tell you, my brother, when he got those 13 scholarships, had his mother had his inheritance, he would have never, like I say, had to juggle like a clown or dance and perform to say, look at me, I'm smart. Help me. So I can get in the school that I deserve to be in. And he always said, these people in here, they're not smart, Carrie. They're only here because their families had money. He said, if we had money, I would be smart and we'd be rich. And he never had a chance to have his family's inheritance because of what people have done. And that's another thing I wanted to show Cousin Norris, because we have proof that his Uncle Leroy wrote papers saying that the immigrants were coming to steal our property. And now I found deeds to one of the biggest asphalt companies in Monmouth County, to where Norris knows my grandmother owned that land because it was willed to her. But I just found deeds to this man who's on 28 acres of our property, my great-grandmother's property, but he signed Norris's grandfather as next of, what does it say? Next of kin, heir of law. But if John Rock had a will, that doesn't matter because he left everything to my grandmother. So how did all of these cousins and stuff get added to this will? You know how they got added? Leroy would have never sold that property to those people. They just thought there was no will, and all of these people were involved. On half of these deeds, on 22 lots of property, 160 acres, they have my grandfather with a signature, and on some of them, they have him with his signature marked as an X. And his wife, my grandmother, whose parents died when she was 5 years old, and she was raised by the Indian tribe and the rest of her family, was educated in New York by the same professor who educated Elijah Rock, who had the Echo's newspaper. And they say that my grandmother and grandfather couldn't read and write. So it's a lot going on. It's a lot to find out. You just have to understand that once you find out something, you never let it go, because half of everything they have, everything they say is a lie. But there is a such thing as archives, and there's a such thing as history and proven facts. And when you can prove who these people were and who they had, and it don't make sense, they have it down that my grandmother got all this property from John H. Rock in 1927 when he died. And all of this was sold to the city of Eatontown. She got easement papers and deeds with Jersey Central Power and Light Company. And in 1963, you're telling me that you took her house for $1,700. You gave her 3 years to pay it, and she couldn't pay it. So in 1966, supposedly, they took her house. She didn't die until 1969. And nobody ever came or nothing, and my family tore the house down in 1975. So who the hell ever knew that y'all took over this property, supposedly? But she got all these deeds and stuff of property that she had sold. None of it makes sense, and it's all a lie.
Yeah, you had said.
I tell you, when you know better, you do better. Yeah. And one thing about me, I will not stop trucking this train until every bit of this stuff is uncovered. And all I want really is for our cemetery to be there so we can put our family down in history. And I just want the story told of John H. Rock and all he owed and how he was swindled. And so was my grandmother out of all of this property. And I can truly say, and I tell this to my family, you got to think about it. When John H. Rock got this property in 1884, he had this property. He had it to get to Cynthia in 1927. And Cynthia still had it. Not one of them houses, not one of those developments were there when she died in 1969. So if it was left to us, guess who it was taken from? It was taken from us, not them. They enjoyed every bit of that property. You think I'm going to let somebody sit here and take something from me? You're out of your ever-loving mind, especially when I can prove it. And that's the whole thing. What they do is they go tell stories and stories, but it's nothing that is ever actual fact. I have a lawyer that took an entire street from my aunt. She went to him in May of 1986 and said, I have this property, but all my nieces and nephews are involved and a couple of brothers, and I need to get this in my hands so I can control this until I'm dead. The day she met him, he went and sold every lot of that property. 5/12/1986. She didn't even get it signed over from my mother and them until October of 86. So all of that he did selling that property was illegal in May. Then he turned around and he wrote my aunt a will in 1989, right before she passed away. But then he got deeds claiming she sold him her lifelong inheritance for $50,000, which was 17 lots of land on one street which is a waterfall, and on one side of the lake in Eatontown, New Jersey, where there is not one thing built on there right now.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was they took it and then gave the property to the city after they got millions of dollars, $4 million in 1987, and now it's a park. Well, I tell you, I'm going to send Cousin Norris the next video, because he should have the video when I stood up at the city council.
Yeah, we got that.
For the graveyard. This is another property. They were doing a ceremony for a lynching of a man that got hung in 1886, who actually is one of our cousins.
Yeah, Mingo Jack.
Our Aunt Carolyn Rock married Mr. Johnson, who was the brother of this man, Samuel Mango Jack Johnson, that they hung for supposedly raping a 20-year-old white woman. He was 60 years old. 7 white men claim that they raped this woman, and they still beat this old man and hung him up in this jail in 1886, which just happens to be the same property that my grandmother and her husband, and then my Aunt Miz in 1950 bought the remaining lots of this entire street from the people that own almost everything in Eatontown, which is a separate place from where the cemetery is. John Wilcox, you know the Wilcox Park where we do our family reunions, the same man my aunt got this property from. Well, when this attorney sold this property and took it, and I went out there to this ceremony, and I listened to these black historians from Brookdale University, and she's talking about how she picked up the soil because black people don't know that there were slaves in New Jersey, and they don't understand about injustice was also done in New Jersey. So what they do is they tell these stories, and then they put up these placards, and then they take a piece of the soil and they take it back to the college so the people can touch the soil and understand. And when they got finished and they sung "We Shall Overcome" and the pastor did his praying, I jumped right in the middle of the circle and said, "Excuse me, but my heart is beating out of my chest to listen to a historian talk about something that happened 157 years ago about this man being hung. And you don't know that 27 years ago in 1991, this property was stolen from my great-grandmother, whose grandson was shot with a double-barrel shotgun, and they put he was shot with a 45, and they put a double-barrel shotgun to his neck and tried to act like he committed suicide? Do you not know about my cousin, Arnold Rock, getting killed in a printing press? All of this was done because these people were stealing our property. The woman I'm named after, Carrie Bell Jones, who was Cynthia Ruffin's daughter, died giving birth to my mother. All injustice. And you stand here on my property talking about something that happened 157 years ago. So what I expect is, since y'all are all for injustice, and now you know you're stealing on stolen property, and you're going to see I stood up with the deeds, I showed them everything, and then the mayor, after I went on for a few minutes, you can't really hear him, but you hear me say, "No, I'm not angry. Sir, you don't understand. Hold on. Don't take this personal. I'm just compassionate." Because I said to them, they were talking about planting flowers and this and that out there. I said, no, I doubt if y'all going to be planting flowers. If you're going to do injustice for this man for 157 years ago, I demand and I expect nothing less for you to do justice for my family, because you're standing on stolen property. So you need to make this right. I told them all about Pine Brook. And I told them, I'm not trying to bring Black Lives Matter out here. I'm not trying to march up and down the street. But the man that secured George Floyd calls me every single day, and he's just waiting for me. So they don't want nothing to go wrong. And they're going to put up statues of my uncles, because now at the end of the street, because there's no houses on it, they put up statues of a white man from the Korean War. And then they got other crosses around for all these other white men that served in World War I, World War II, whatever. And I'm here to tell you that my Uncle William, that lived at 29 West Street, was a corporal in the Korean War, and I demanded they put up a statue, which, cousin, when they do it, I'm going to invite all the family. And then they're going to put up crosses for every one of my uncles that fought in World War I and World War II, and my grandfather. And once they do that, then that entire street is going to be full of every rough and BB that ever served in the war, because I don't want nothing there. I never want to live there. You're going to pay us the money we were robbed for that property because now the city owns it. And you know what I told them? You're complicit, because if I were to take your car, and this is the city attorney, I don't even know his last name because he told me to call him Andrew, but we're going to say Andrew, if I took a car from you and I just went driving and I get pulled over, and then they say, no, he stole it from Danielle, I'm complicit because I should have asked you where you got it from.
Yep.
So y'all now are the owners of my family property. I threw down the deeds. He said, Miss Jones, what do you want us to do? I want you to do a title search. I want you to then see how was this Marion Ruffin's property. I traced that title back to 1919 when they first started doing them. It went from Wilcox to my aunt and them in 1950 to now the lawyer sold it in 1988. When he really sold it to the Mammoth Conservation Society in 1986. And then when on her dying bed, charged her to write up a will for property that they claim she already sold to them. You tell me how this makes sense. It don't. So there's a lot of things you will uncover when you untrace your history. Because our families, especially the Black families, not even just from the North, from the South as well, because I'm going through the same thing with my father's family, where they developed the whole Southampton County in Virginia, right at the line between Virginia, Franklin, Virginia, and Como, North Carolina. Same thing. So you have to understand that we're not here because we came from a people that weren't strong. We're not here because we didn't come from a people that were here before these people even got here. We're here because those people were survivors and they made it. And not all of them did, but the ones that did took care of everybody else that was left. And that's what my mission is. There is no way I'm finding all of this out about my poor grandmother when this woman didn't even live like she had a dime. And this is what happened. It's heartbreaking. It's unbelievable. And for me to sit here and fight this guy in court time after time, and oh, cousin, you're not even going to believe this. And I'm going to tell you, because you know me. The lawyer now, because Chicolese has a new lawyer, my lawyer trying to bail out. And I told him, go ahead, because you know I got this, cousin. And they know this man now, instead of him trying to hurry up and drag me into court, he trying to get some of the restraints we had put on him a couple of weeks ago, which said he can't be at the cemetery. Now he wants the judge to reverse that and lift the restraints. Well, they sent me 154 pages the other day, and I done answered every bit of it, handwritten, like I always do. Now take this, because everything I say in my response is, he incorporated our cemetery illegally with none of our permission. Him and the Board of Cemeteries never told me and my aunts, and the Board of Cemeteries is complicit. Guess where I just came from this afternoon? The FBI, 331 Numa Springs Road. Okay? They're about to slap him with a RICO charge and some more stuff, as well as the Board of Cemeteries. Because I can't go to the Attorney General because he's on the Board of Cemeteries, so he's not going to help. But I'm going to tell you something I know about people like Donald Trump. When they know you got them by the balls, what they tend to do is they use these delay tactics, and they try to keep bringing you into court for other stuff. Because if you knew you could win the trial, we'd be already at trial, sir. So I'm not one that's going to waver. And the only thing I keep begging is, they had the nerve to ask me again, not only the 7 bodies, now he wanted to bury 2 bodies at the cemetery. The last thing I said to them is, my daughter is buried at White Ridge Cemetery because of the mess I was going through with this man. You asking me about any bodies, any remains that he wants to put on my cemetery is an insult to me. I ain't even answering. He know what the hell that meant. Don't call me no more. Now, cousin, I went out there the other day. The porta potty was gone. And somebody, now that was out there when I went out there a couple of weeks ago because I had an interview with the New York Times. And we went out there, the porta potty was there, nothing else was there. And when I went out there yesterday, the porta potty is gone, and there's a note written in orange, and it's black. It's written, whatever's written on it is in black marker. It's inside of a sandwich bag, but it looks like it's inside of urine, and it's stapled to one of the trees with the biggest staple I've ever seen in my life. It's not even like an upholstery staple, like you staple to do chairs and stuff. Yeah. It's big as hell, and it's just stuck on the tree. So when I went to the FBI, because I went to them last week, I said, now I feel like I'm being threatened because I don't know what's in this thing right here, but this is out at the cemetery on a tree, and I want somebody to go get it and look at it because I'm not touching it. But whoever took that porta potty, and we got 3 cameras out there at the cemetery, they had to place whatever this is on this tree. And that's the kind of animal he is. You know, he's that type of person where he's mad because he's not winning. He done wrote letters to the board of cemeteries basically threatening them. I don't know how you're saying that I have 50% of your complaints when I dealt with 150 people and one person, one family made 38 complaints, so that should count as one complaint. The man is absolutely crazy. But at the end of the day, the FBI is going to put him in jail, and my family's going to have millions, and then we're going to turn the cemetery into everything that we want it to be, historic for our family, and that's the end of it. Period.
Absolutely. And we applaud you because you're doing a great job. You're doing the job that many.
Your voice is so low, cousin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said we applaud you. You're doing a great job. What you're doing. It just kicked out for a second. You know what I mean? I lost cousin Kala, but so yeah, we back though. So what you're doing is something that people are gonna have to be. They're gonna have to like. This is what's gonna change the people's futures, right?
Right.
It's a daunting challenge, right? It can be intimidating, but when you know you're on the right, I mean, it sounds like you got the energy and everything for it. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like you're embracing the challenge. You know what I mean?
Right. But you also got to look at it like this. When you feel like you know what somebody did wrong, when it comes to the law, you just have to look up in the law's terms and then be able to explain and prove it. Because when so many people talk to me about what I'm doing and what's going on, you know what I always say? Think about that young man in jail, and they call him a jail lawyer. Anybody that's determined to prove they're right, you're going to figure out how to do it. And the easiest thing I learned was whenever somebody throws something at you and it's a definition or a word that you think you might understand, you got to look it up in legal terms, especially if you're dealing with the law. And that is the easiest way for you to be able to then turn around and use the same thing against them, but use it in your favor. And it's not as hard as you think, because if you know what day your son was born, you know what time you got to the hospital, you know how many days he didn't miss a school when the teacher's trying to say X, Y, and Z. The thing is, when you know what you know, you just got to figure out how to prove it. And if you know somebody is lying and they don't have any proof, you then figure out how to prove that. And once you do that, you are your own best advocate. And then I always say to myself, I'm never going to fold, because I always question, what kind of soldier am I? I think I've been fighting my entire life. I mean, I started having children when I was 12 years old. So not only did I have to learn how to survive, I had to learn how to talk and explain. So why, not that I didn't do double dutch and gymnastics and cheer and run track, because I did all of that. But I also had to know my daughter had a fever. No, she didn't wet too many diapers. I think she might be dehydrated. No, I gave her Tylenol this time ago. No, the fever didn't break. So even as a youngin', when in your life you are made to figure things out, that's just something that just never leaves you. And we all have the ability to do it. I just feel like some of us that have been coddled more, those are the ones that might be your little worker bees.
Yeah.
Because they might not be able to do what you do or figure it out, but it don't mean that they can't help. So that's why one of the things I'm truly starting to enjoy about dealing with my family that's taken this journey with me is because at one time when I tried to do like a whole lot of stuff, like just have so many people involved, it got to be too busy and too much. And right now, I have slowly found that once again, I'm isolated and I'm handling it myself. And when I need something, everybody is right there for me to call. Just like you. Whenever I call, whenever I text, you always answer or you always respond. And I think basically that's what I need now. For a minute, it kind of felt like when I was going it all alone, it felt like it was kind of overwhelming, like it was unbelievable. Yeah. When I started going to court and I was winning, it was kind of like, is this really happening? Like, am I really going to end up making this thing work? Like when I started getting calls from Black Lives Matter and stuff, like it was overwhelming, but it never feels like it's grandiose. It just feels like, nah, you just, dealing with your cousin. Your cousin's a liar, and he lied about the money, and you got to prove this, you got to prove that. It's real calm. You know what I mean? I'm not overwhelmed. Yeah. And when you see me, you're going to be proud because I got a little little purple turtle around my neck. Okay. And it reminds me that purple turtle said, slow and steady is the course. Yep. And I'm just waiting for this man, and I'm just waiting to get myself in court because I know we're going to win. I know that this is all going to be unfolded. I know that all the injustice will be unfolded. I believe that doing this with the cemetery is going to lead us to that mineral springs that's back there. Mm-hmm. It's going to lead us to the hot spring that's back there, which is all a part of our family. And we have a company that's been pumping spring water out of our spring since 1954. Wow. And they too have an easement clause. They don't have where they bought the property. They have something that says, we're going to use your land, you're going to give us the right of way, and we're going to pay you X, Y, and Z. And nobody in the world knows where that money is. And from what I've calculated, these people have made over $60 million just in the last 5 years. And I mean, that's not even going back to 1954. I mean, I have no idea. But this is something, and it's about to get hot and heavy. But I'm telling you, the can of worms is definitely open. And I just hope that everybody can come together collectively. Because one thing I've noticed is they like to put in a lot of stories that the families don't agree and the families don't get along. And that's definitely not true. I believe that when everybody understands what's truly at stake here and what has truly been taken, because even our Reedy property that has been turned into Monmouth County dump, the 900 acres, I'm witnessing right now every day, or every time at least, I go to Monmouth Mall, right there on the corner, they built like a little apartment community, and it has to have at least 200 or 300 apartments in it. And that's supposed to be property they took from Monmouth County dump, but somebody's got apartments going up there, and that's part of our family property as well. As well. And it's right there on the corner of Shafter Road. My grandfather, Robert Jones, was born at 2579 Shafter Road. You're talking about right behind the mall, right? right behind the mall. The entire thing was supposed to be taken from our family and make it Monmouth County dump. And right there on the corner, they have just built an apartment complex with over, I don't even know, it might even be more than 300 apartments in it. It's terrible because I know that that's our family property. And what the history looks like to me is they just come in and they take it, they remove us, and after 100 years, somebody else, the city is selling it or giving it to somebody else. And I'm saying, how was that possible when you took the property from us? And when they took that property, it was 900 acres. The family asked for $10,000 per acre. I think they actually got like $22,000 an acre. So that was like $1,800,000,000. But the family never saw the money. They sent it all out to the Indian reservation, to Brethren, and out to Nebraska, and out to Alaska, and everywhere else, somewhere upstate New York. But the family here never seen that money. Never.
Wow.
We never saw a dime of the money. And then they did, and I have to find the paperwork.
So the money was sent to...
They did offer us to give up our rights as American citizens.
All right, so hold up, cuz. Just give me a second. I'm going to stop right here. I just got to... I'm not getting off the phone with you, but...
No, it's okay.
I got to do something. So just give me a moment, all right? Just give me a moment.
Well, did you want to call me back?
No, I'm just need a second. Just give me a second, all right? All right, so we getting into some things right now that I'm gonna need to record the rest of this conversation before I just make it public. All right, but this is my cousin Carrie. Definitely gonna have her on, and we're gonna really show y'all some things on how to get to your property. We're gonna show you it in real time, just like Turtle Gang been doing the whole time we've been here. So now everybody talking about getting your land back and fighting these cases. My cousin is at the forefront of this. She's doing it right now, and we riding with her heavy. As they say, the revolution will be televised. You know what I'm saying? Turtle Gang style. So peace, we out for now. Check back in. We'll definitely be keeping you abreast of the situation. All right? Peace, and thank you everybody for tuning in.